Millions of people rely on the utilities of the Northwest Power Pool every single day, 24/7. As the largest subregion of WEC, the Northwest Power Pool coordinates a number of programs that are essential to the reliable operation of the Northwest Power Grid. The Reserve Sharing Program and the Pacific Northwest Coordination Agreement are prime examples of such programs that serve to maximize efficiencies and collective support for member utilities. Today, the role of the Northwest Power Pool is well established, but it wasn't always so. Let's take a look back at the early beginnings of the Power Pool to see how it all began and how it's evolved to where it is today. We'll examine its progression over the years, influenced by major events in society, while always working to preserve the reliability of the bulk electric system. The first pooling or coordination of power resources in the Pacific Northwest occurred all the way back in 1917, during World War I. That's when the Pacific Power and Light Company, which today is known as PacifiCorp, interconnected with the Washington Water Power Company, now called Avista. They realized that they could do things a lot more efficiently if they cooperatively pooled their resources. As time went on, more and more operating systems serving neighboring areas joined in and became interconnected. And in 1941, during World War II, 6 regional investor-owned utilities formed the Northwest Power Pool. The staff had just 3 engineers at the time, and their role was to enhance reliability and maximize efficient production through the coordination of river flows and electrical operation. Their installed capacity was just 1,000 megawatts. Compare that to the power pool load today, 70,000 megawatts. And you can see there's been quite a lot of growth since then. As World War II continued to unfold, the United States was drawn into the global conflict. Congress passed the War Production Board of 1942, which required federal-based entities like Bonneville Power Administration to join entities like the Northwest Power Pool. This time, the goal of pooling collective resources was to power the war effort. The War Production Board gave the Power Pool members a boost. By issuing Order L-94, the board directed utilities throughout the United States to increase electric capacity. Puget Sound Power and Light Company, Portland General Electric Company, the municipal systems of Seattle and Tacoma, and the Bonneville Power Administration joined in, which significantly expanded power pool capacity to about 2,600 megawatts. Of course, the war eventually came to an end, but as a result of the demonstrated efficiency throughout the war, the power pool continued, and the Operating Committee, or OC, took charge of the oversight of the power pool staff and activities. The power pool membership continued to expand. British Columbia Hydro and Power Authority joined in 1949 as the British Columbia Electric Company, the public utility districts of Chelan and Grant counties in 1961, and the City of Eugene Water and Electric Board in 1962. The system of former Mountain States Power Company and the California-Oregon Power Company both merged into Pacific Power and Light Company, and they are included in the Northwest Power Pool. Until 1961, participation was on an informal voluntary basis, but at the beginning of that year, the Columbia River Treaty with Canada was signed, and that paved the way for contractual obligations. The treaty specified the provisions for coordinating the water resources of the Columbia River Basin, an area which spans 268,000 square miles over the northwestern United States and southwestern Canada. It became official in 1964 as the Pacific Northwest Coordination Agreement. The PNCA is a binding contract among 17 U.S. utilities and agencies controlling power generating facilities in Washington, Oregon, and parts of Idaho, Montana, and California. The contract ensures a few things. 1, that usable energy from the affected river systems is optimized on a regional basis regardless of the plant ownership. This means that the utilities and agencies are obligated to exchange energy with each other as needed to make sure that it's always available to all of them. 2, the PNCA also spells out how the affected water systems would be operated in the event of the worst water conditions imaginable. This way, the area can have reassurance that the maximum amount of electric energy load can be carried no matter what. And the PNCA also determines the downstream benefits due to water storage at upstream reservoirs under coordinated operation, and it specifies how the upstream reservoir owners would be paid. Back to our timeline. Throughout the 60s, the Northwest Power Pool members investigated other ways to maximize reliability, and they found that sharing contingency reserves would help them reduce risk while enhancing the reliability of the interconnected system. By 1970, reserve sharing was occurring on an informal basis among its members, and by 2002, it was fully automated. Today, the reserve sharing participants are able to reduce their collective requirements on average by 5,000 megawatts, while at the same time reducing the risk of shortages and enhancing overall reliability. Prior to the creation of the PNCA, the governing body of the power pool was the Operating Committee, which consisted of one representative from each of the major generating utilities in the Northwest Power Pool area. The smaller interconnected utilities in the region participated indirectly through the major system with which they were interconnected, which still continues today. As a result of the 1964 PNCA, the Coordination Contract Committee, today known as the Coordinating Group, or CG, was established to study how best to operate the coordinated hydro system. The CG helps the utilities coordinate operations in light of actual stream flows. Fast forward to 1990, the power pool members elected to form a new committee known as the Transmission Planning Committee. The TPC is designed to provide a forum for problem solving and the sharing of ideas and concepts related to transmission issues specific to the Northwest Power Pool area. And in February 2011, the Reserve Sharing Group Committee, RSG, was formed. They were granted exclusive power to establish, modify, and rescind all policies and documents governing the Northwest Power Pool Reserve Sharing Group. From 1941, when the power pool first became official, and until the mid-90s, its members were pretty much acting on a handshake. There was no binding contract or formal agreement among them. But around that time, the industry underwent significant change with the introduction of deregulation. So in 1995, the power pool members decided to write out an agreement that would formalize the arrangement and start laying out rules officially. That agreement was called the Membership Agreement. It put forth formal contractual terms around the committee activities that were already occurring. The agreement includes a couple of funding provisions. All committee funding is straight up per capita, or a modified form of per capita. The RSG committee is funded through a separate agreement. However, it is still a straight up per capita funding. Until 1999, the power pool staff were loaned employees who were actually employed by member utilities such as Portland General, Grant County PUD, or PacifiCorp, and all the billing was administered by PacifiCorp. But around 1999, the industry was restructuring and evolving toward more legally binding and riskier obligations related to reliability management. So in order to eliminate some of the liability exposure, on April 22, 1999, Articles of incorporation were filed with the Oregon Secretary of State to form a new nonprofit corporation called the Northwest Power Pool. To reduce confusion, we will call this the Service Corporation. The Service Corporation is a legally constituted nonprofit mutual benefit corporation in the state of Oregon. It has no members in the corporate law sense. It is a 501c6 trade association with tax-exempt status. It has its own bylaws completely separate from the Northwest Power Pool membership agreement. And it has a self-perpetuating board of directors who oversee the Service Corporation's employees, finances, and contracts. The Service Corporation coexists with and serves the membership committees. This presents a unique structure, where the membership committees are autonomous, self-governing bodies within their charted scopes of responsibilities, which are stated quite broadly. The organizations participating in these committees have complete freedom to designate any employees they choose for their participation in these committees. They can also modify their chartered scope at any point, provided that there is sufficient consensus among the committee members. The Service Corporation maintains individual general services agreements with each of the power pool members, which establishes a vendor's relationship as a provider of services. In addition to administration, management, negotiation, and reporting services, in 2005, the Service Corporation became a NERC-certified continuing education provider, adding more value to the Northwest Power Pool membership. And in 2014, Northwest Power Pool Training Services expanded into a digital e-training platform with the launch of Source.Training. Today, the needs of the power system continue to evolve, and the Service Corporation is always ready to meet the needs of the power pool members. The members decide what's next, and whatever direction that may be, the Service Corporation will continue to embody the spirit of the original Northwest Power Pool motto: reliability through cooperation.